Well, it is hard to believe, but I was making my first go at YouTube in the lead up to Mario's 35th anniversary 5 years ago, and it has dawned on me that I have spent 5 years on this channel making content because, yeah, we're right around the corner from Mario's 40th anniversary, and this will be a lead up discussing what we might see this time around in terms of Nintendo's celebration of their mascot, Mario, everyone's favorite plumber. And that often comes with some brand new games for us to experience and really the subject of conversation for this video, which just made Mario's 40th anniversary more exciting, is not the new game portion, but rather a previously rumored port and remaster that I want to focus on once again with you all, because I do believe there's credence to this idea, and the potential for a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of, quite honestly, my favorite Mario 2D side-scrolling platformer of all time outside of Super Mario World, which just kind of hits a different level of nostalgia for me personally. But I will say, disclaimer right at the beginning of the video, there was some rumors circulating around a new Super Mario Bros. Collection, and while that would be cool to see, and actually something that was personally on my predictions list for something Nintendo may do for the 40th anniversary, at least the quote-unquote leak you're seeing floating around with fake box art suggesting that that is a real collection. One, Nintendo never leaks box art that way. It just almost never happens. Like, before a game gets to print and to this stage where you would start manufacturing retail packaging for it, we would know something else about it from some other source, or Nintendo would likely have revealed it themselves. But yeah, you can trace back like the Japanese text to it just not making sense, and the barcode is literally the barcode for New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. So don't buy that if you were seeing that spread around online. But there are two more credible pieces of information, one of which way more recent than the other, that I want to cover with you all and kind of talk about where we should be setting our expectations as a whole as we talk about Mario's 40th anniversary, which will happen in September next month already. But there is also a trend on how long Nintendo kind of plans out the celebration, and it doesn't mean we're going to get everything in that month, although I do think we'll get some stuff relatively soon. So we'll get on the same page with all of this info. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And to first recap a rumor that you might remember we've covered once here before on this channel, but in the lead up to Mario's 45th, I do want to remind you all where it's stemming from and why it might be worth paying some attention to. And this is the fact that Special Nick from Xbox Era, who has previously provided inside Nintendo information in the past, such as the actual pricing mix-up for the Switch 2 ahead of its official reveal, where you can see, so if the person who told me June release is all but confirmed to be correct, then it could mean the pricing they gave me of $449 and $499 USD might also be correct. I think the extra 50 is a Mario Kart bundle. This was posted on January 16th after we saw the console with the first look trailer, but we had no clear indication on pricing, and especially while we did have that bundle rumored, those price points being $50 apart the way that they were, and exactly getting the timing of the launch in June, all before it was brought to light. Yeah, that does give them some credibility in having an inside Nintendo source, and they were actually casually showing up in Nintendo Prime's chat on a live stream one night and just teased the fact that they had heard about a Super Mario Galaxy 2 remaster. And this is one for me that I would be very hyped to see personally, because as somebody who thoroughly enjoyed Super Mario 3D All-Stars as part of Mario's 35th anniversary, it was very obvious that Nintendo just skipped up on Galaxy 2, which had a ton of content and is also a very big focal point of bringing Yoshi into the fold of gameplay mechanics with those cool galaxy planet 3D platforming that comes along with being in space and the rotation around the planets. And anyway, it has some of the best levels, some of the best 3D platforming in a Mario game, some really fun and enjoyable boss battles. It's more of what you love from Galaxy, but kind of taken to the next level in terms of the challenge, the items and power-ups, great soundtrack. Like, there's a lot of reason that you'd want to go back and play that now on modern hardware, as it was originally released for the Wii, and so far it's one of the classic 3D Mario games that is just stuck on the Wii. Well, there are a couple ways Nintendo could obviously go about remastering something like this, and it would be either a standalone package where maybe for a $60 price point on the Switch 2, they just drop it on there, give it a 4K 60 FPS and some touch up to the visuals, and or maybe taking it even a step further than that and actually kind of giving it like the Metroid Prime remastered treatment, where you just actually overhaul the lighting, the textures, the visuals, like truly doing a remastered edition of the game. That is one option on the table. And or they could potentially bring back Mario 3D All-Stars, which is no longer purchasable from Nintendo directly. You have to go third-party market, and obviously because people do want that thing, those prices have gone up astronomically, which fortunately, if you do come across a cartridge used, you can play it in your Switch 2, of course, and Nintendo has even updated some issues with the game, apparently, probably just smoothing out backwards compatibility more than anything, but they're still issuing updates for that game. They haven't forgot it exists, but it is one of those things that you cannot actively give them money directly to Nintendo to purchase it because it was a limited run type of deal. And I know a lot of people just now getting into the Switch 2 ecosystem, or if you got into the Switch 1 life cycle later on, you probably want that game for your collection. It'd be nice to have the ability to purchase it from the eShop again. So maybe Nintendo does bring it back, but albeit at a $70 price point, and it comes with something like Galaxy 2 Remastered baked into the fold, and maybe we get an upgrade pack where we get Galaxy 2, people who already own it, but you don't have to repurchase Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy 1. That is in the realm of possibility also, but it also kind of sounds messy, whereas if Nintendo spends a little bit more time with the textures and the visuals and the lighting, I can also see them potentially just going ahead and bringing it over as a remastered edition, and that's one of the games that would be at something like a Mario 40th Anniversary Nintendo Direct. There are already some rumors starting to fly about the next Direct presentation. It may be a mainline one for the next one, and we may also get a separate Mario-focused Direct besides that. All rumor mill speculation talk, nothing's confirmed until Nintendo confirms it, but from there, we had most recently a pretty exciting update come to us from Nash Weedle. Now, they have leaked successfully a lot of different information on Nintendo Switch 2, such as things like Donkey Kong Bonanza being the show closing game or the big focal point game of the Switch 2 hardware direct, when everybody expected it to be 3D Mario, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, exact naming and timeline, Metroid Dread notably before that. They have a long history of revealing things without an official Nintendo announcement and actually have a decent track record overall. That said, they have missed some things as well, so you always have to take everything with a grain of salt and not set all your hopes, dreams, and expectations on them at the end of the day. But they recently, just the other day, took to social media to post, Leak Express, new dialogue lines have been recorded for the Talking Flower in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is likely related to a game update for a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that we'll see soon. And one thing that Nintendo has done in the Switch 2 era is the Switch 2 edition of games. And what is interesting is that they have updated quite a few games that haven't received a Switch 2 edition, like the extra content stuff. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Starcross World being a perfect example. We're looking forward to that coming out at the end of this month. It's an extra $20 price tag to get that additional DLC, or you can purchase the game all at once. Let's say you didn't purchase Kirby and the Forgotten Land and you're brand new to the Switch generation and you skipped up on the Switch 1 or just never purchased it for the Switch 1, you can buy it complete on cartridge with all the DLC and base game at an $80 price point, which is definitely high, but you are paying the $60 Kirby and Forgotten Land price, which is still going to be the standard price because Nintendo like never drops their prices on games, plus the $20 DLC expansion pack price. And that is kind of what we are seeing Nintendo do this generation, as opposed to just simplified deluxe versions, if you will, where they brought over like new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe as part of the 35th anniversary. And could this be some kind of replacement for that treatment, but for Mario Wonder, a game that came out very late in the Switch's life cycle that is an evergreen title and can continue to sell? Would Nintendo do something like expanded content with DLC and a Switch 2 edition of the game? I think personally that this has a very high likelihood of happening, and I do think that this is the perfect type of game that Nintendo would want to expand the content on, make it a focal point again in the Switch 2 generation early on. It's the type of game you actually want to see sitting on a retail store shelf when people are doing their Christmas time shopping for friends and family. You want to have something Mario there, and if it's not only Galaxy 2 remastered, having something like a Switch 2 edition of Mario Wonder would make a ton of sense as well. And I do think it's Nintendo's way of potentially double dipping on that title and getting it in front of a fresh set of eyeballs for the Switch 2 right at the early launch of the console. And the best part about it, if it does end up being a Switch 2 edition, is that we would likely get expansion content to this game, which could tie into Nash Weedle's report of basically having additional voices recorded for the talking flowers, because there was all types of dialogue from those talking flowers in the game, and there was cool challenge stages, different badges you could equip. Like, this was really the evolution of 2D Mario platforming games, and it honestly made all of the new Super Mario Bros. Games look like a second tier type of experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I had my fun with the new Super Mario Bros. Era, but whenever you just cross compare it directly to how creative and how vibrant and alive the worlds in Wonder are, this is like the true revamp and next level of 2D Mario platforming. So if you're telling me we get more of that for potentially a $20 expansion for I already own Mario Wonder, so I'd pick up the DLC and essentially get the Switch 2 edition upgrade pack. Yeah, at that point, I will happily give Nintendo my money for that. I think it'd be a really cool way to celebrate Mario's 40th anniversary, and we would see it actually get that performance update to basically take advantage of the HDR, which would look incredible in that game, 4K 60 FPS. And it also leads credence to the idea that this is a real thing that Nintendo's planning on, because this is one of the few games from a first-party perspective that makes sense to have one of these free content updates like Mario Odyssey and many others that you can go through the list and see everything that Nintendo's updated, ARMS even, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Game Builder Garage, like all that stuff was updated, even New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. All free updates to basically take advantage of the Switch 2's better performance. Mario Wonder is not on that list, and I do think now we're seeing this information come out online about it potentially having expanded content or new recordings happening for it. I think it just lines up perfectly, and this is all happening and coming to light right in the lead up to Mario's 40th anniversary that we know to take place and Nintendo will celebrate in September. Now, from there, to kind of just tackle the expectations level of how long does the celebration last and what kind of content might we see across the board from Nintendo for it? Well, typically Nintendo will kind of kick off the celebration with one major event, hopefully a dedicated direct for Mario's 45th anniversary, and we learn about all of the game projects and big stuff there, in addition to some limited merch, maybe some NSO stuff, like Mario 99 type of game coming around, like we had for Mario 35, kind of that online live service temporary game that gets added into NSO, something like that could come back around. But I think that overall, they typically celebrate for about a year from when it kicks off, with most of the content and celebration happening within the first 6 to 9 months from when we see that initial presentation from Nintendo, be it a direct or some other type of Mario celebration. But that means we could learn about potentially all the big Mario titles at this upcoming 40th anniversary presentation, but some of these games and the content might not all be ready to go right then and there, and rather it would be something where, let's say the Galaxy 2 remaster is there for the holiday season, November, it goes on store shelves, or maybe even December, but we don't get that Switch 2 edition of Mario Wonder until February or March of next year, or vice versa. All that stuff could be true. We saw stuff like Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury being announced at Mario's 35th anniversary direct, but it wasn't out until like February of the following year, if I'm not mistaken. So we should get all the official communication soon enough, probably within a month or just a little over that at the time of filming this video. So Mario's 40th is almost here. I personally am excited for the two prospects of big titles we could see, like Mario Galaxy 2 remastered and or Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and I think there's a whole host of other things that could be there. Maybe the 3D Mario game gets the show closer treatment, where we at least see a teaser of what that looks like for later in 2026 or beyond, and maybe we get some kind of official announcement of Mario Maker 3 that I think is also in timeline and in the realm of possibility of conversation for Mario's 40th celebration. So let me know in the comments down below what you hope we see the most from Nintendo in terms of Mario's 40th anniversary celebration. Would you more like to see Galaxy 2 remastered and Wonder Switch 2 edition, or would you prefer to see something like a new Super Mario Bros. Collection, which, I mean, to be fair, could still be true, but do you tend to buy into that leak online, or do you think that one's kind of bogus like I do? And besides the new 3D Mario game, Mario Maker 3, any other Mario projects that you would personally like to see show up or make some kind of appearance in September in 2025 when we celebrate Mario's 40th anniversary? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.